At this time of year, we'd still be in the midst of getting things planted, and the chances of rain the next 10 days, I think we got 3 chances, would be pretty bullish. They'd be talking planting delays. What's your take on this now, Rich?
So we do have this talk here for this afternoon's crop progress report. 83% planted is going to be the guess. And as you can tell by the chart here, this would be the second highest ever for this week. We're coming very close to this 2005 level. That was 80% at this week. And I believe the next one is going to be 2004, the record crop year for that time frame, back in those mid-2000 times. So main point is obviously we're transitioning now from the idea that we've got to get the crop planted, and now we're going to transition to the idea of watching the emergence, watching the early development here. We'll talk about this remaining weather here in just a minute, but let's also discuss some other things that are going on. So we have this monthly supply and demand report tomorrow morning at 7:30, and this will be our first look at USDA's guess on new crop numbers. This is kind of important here. We will make some old crop revisions. The average trade is suggesting about a 50 million bushel drop in old crop ending stocks, and that's probably likely as we see the export numbers revised. Keep in mind the last 4 to 5 weeks have been fantastic for corn sales. So we probably will see, first of all, a small revision on the old crop side. We do have some numbers up here suggesting that we're going to have a pretty stout new crop supply picture. So keep in mind, of course, on the demand side, we've got this great ethanol jump in terms of demand coming. However, USDA probably will say that's going to be countered by acreage and also yield. Now, we do have a small increase in yield, is what we're suggesting, already plugged in for this May report.
Now, Rich, are you expecting an acreage change from the March intention report?
And we are not. USDA has only made one change on the corn planting numbers on these May reports, and that's since the last, I want to say, the early 90s. And that was done in the 96 time frame when they had problems with the winter wheat.
Okay, now yield, what were they at for trend yield when they did their conference?
And back in February, USDA does a conference just like we do. And their number they came up with for a trend yield was 160.9. So we've got the number plugged into this 162 range right now.
Okay, so you're expecting them to raise yield above trend a little bit on this report?
That's right. They do raise yields based on good plantings on this May report.
Okay, and then just one other thing. I know customers are worried about this. This last weekend's frost, do you think that's going to impair yields at all or have any impact?
At this point, we haven't heard any serious talk from the weather guys or agronomists suggesting that's going to be anything major we need to look at here yet.
Okay, let's go on.
So we do have a small drop plugged in for old crop, but as we said before, it looks like new crop, if the average guess comes out right, says we're going to have some stout numbers here. Soybean side, we will have a 34% planted as the average guess for this afternoon's report. And this, as it says, will be the third highest on these bean numbers. And starting next week, we're actually going to take a look at that idea as far as these early plantings. Do they have the same type of impact on yield as they do on corn? So we'll start to talk about that next few days here. Over on the same type of stocks numbers we have lined up for tomorrow. Only expect a very moderate revision for old crop, but the average guess is certainly putting up some big numbers for new crop, 338 million bushels. And I believe our number is like 308 along this area. So no matter how it looks, this is going to be a big number as far as bean stocks.
And are you using about a trend line yield to calculate all that?
And as far as the bean numbers go, yes, we're staying with the USDA's February yield number. They will not make any change on yield, and they certainly won't make any change as far as acreage.
So this report will give us a good idea what they're guessing for demand.
That's right.
Okay.
Certainly right here. Over the wheat side, we won't see any major changes here for old crop, but we may see a new crop number suggesting a pretty stout new crop. And we've actually got to go back to the early 2000s to actually find a number near this level here even. So the main point is with the wheat, we've got a lot around right now, and no matter what they say tomorrow, we're still going to have a lot around. As far as the current crop and the current development, as I said, now we're going to transition from the idea of getting the crop planted to how is it growing. Same as this looks at the exact same type of chart as last week. This is the soil moisture index chart. One thing we can note is maybe conditions creeping a little wetter is now creeping up towards central Illinois and western Illinois. And we do, of course, have some increased movement on this wet condition into southern Iowa now. So bottom line here is a crop that's obviously very adequate as far as soil moisture. What has changed about this is the forecast. Here's the 6 to 10 day forecast. This is basically what's going to go on for next week. And though we've got some rains lined up in the near term, as we move on into next week, this shows above normal temps lined up. Precip-wise, normal temp or normal precip for the most of the Corn Belt. In fact, maybe a little dry for the northern Corn Belt. So we're saying that the crop might be a little wet right now in some of these key areas here, but we're going to move to a more normal and not, if not actually warmer and drier forecast in the coming weeks.